I escaped war in Ukraine and moved to the Philippines. I never expected this. When war broke out in Ukraine, everything I knew collapsed in an instant. The streets I grew up on, the buildings I passed every day, the neighborhoods that once echoed with laughter, overnight, they became unrecognizable. Bombs shook the ground beneath my feet, sirens became the soundtrack of daily life, and fear seeped into every corner. For many, war is something you see on the news. For me, it was outside my window. I had to make a decision. Stay and risk losing everything, or leave and search for a chance to survive. With nothing but a small bag, a few documents, and the hope for a future, I chose to leave. I never imagined that decision would lead me across continents, across oceans, to a place I barely knew, the Philippines. What I discovered here changed me forever. This is my story. The hardest part of escaping war isn't the danger itself, it's the goodbye. Saying farewell to family members who stayed behind. Leaving behind a home I built with my own hands. Walking away from the familiar streets, not knowing if I'd ever return. In those moments, everything feels uncertain. You carry only what you can fit into a small bag. You clutch your passport as if it were a lifeline. Every step forward feels heavy, but staying feels impossible. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself the war would end soon. But deep down, I knew life would never be the same again. Crossing borders, waiting in crowded stations, hearing stories of others who lost more than I had. It broke me in ways I still can't fully explain. I was a refugee, not by choice, but by necessity. Yet even in those dark days, I clung to hope that somewhere far away, peace still existed. People often ask me, why the Philippines? To be honest, it wasn't my first thought. Most people fleeing Ukraine went west, toward Europe. But Europe was already overwhelmed with refugees, and the future there felt uncertain. I wanted not just safety, but a fresh start. The Philippines seemed like a distant dream, an archipelago halfway across the world. I knew little about it beyond its beaches and hospitality, but friends told me about its people, its culture, its warmth. Something about it called to me. Maybe because I needed distance, maybe because I needed to believe in a new beginning. So I took a leap of faith, and that leap changed everything. The first time I set foot in the Philippines, I felt overwhelmed. Everything was different. The climate, the sounds, the rhythm of life. The heat was heavy, the streets were alive with energy, and the air carried a mixture of jeepney smoke, street food, and ocean breeze. What shocked me most wasn't the environment, but the people. Strangers greeted me with smiles. Vendors in markets laughed and joked as if life were a celebration. Children waved at me, curious about who I was. Even though I didn't speak the language, kindness needed no translation. After months of war, where every face was tense with fear, this was something I hadn't seen in a long time. Happiness. And it was contagious. Adapting wasn't easy. I had to adjust to new foods, new customs, new ways of living. In Ukraine, meals were built around bread, potatoes, and soups. In the Philippines, rice was everywhere. Morning, noon, and night. At first, I struggled, but soon I was savoring adobo, sinigang, lechon, and halo-halo on hot afternoons. The language barrier was another challenge. Hearing Tagalog, Cebuano, or Ilocano was overwhelming. But Filipinos are patient teachers. Even a simple salamat earned me smiles. Slowly, I began to pick up phrases, and with them, confidence. Time also felt different here. Life moved slower, less rushed. In Ukraine, especially during war, every second felt urgent. In the Philippines, people valued connection more than schedules. Families gathered for meals, neighbors shared food, and laughter echoed late into the night. It took time, but I learned to embrace that rhythm. One of the greatest gifts the Philippines gave me was its landscapes. In Ukraine, the last images I carried were of destroyed buildings, smoke-filled skies, and streets turned to rubble. Here, I found the opposite. Nature untouched, alive, and healing. The beaches were like medicine. Standing on white sands, looking at turquoise waters, I felt peace I hadn't known in years. The rice terraces carved into mountains told stories of patience and resilience. The sunsets painted the horizon in fiery colors, reminding me that endings can also be beautiful. Sometimes, I would sit by the sea for hours, letting the waves wash away memories of war. Nature here didn't just surround me, it embraced me. It whispered, "You are safe now, you can breathe again." But it wasn't only the land that healed me, it was the people. I was amazed by the resilience of Filipinos. They had their own struggles, typhoons, floods, poverty. Yet no matter how hard life hit them, they stood up again. And not only did they stand up, they stood up smiling. I remember attending a fiesta in a small town. Music filled the air, people danced in the streets, and tables overflowed with food. Many of them didn't have much, yet they shared everything. Their joy wasn't tied to wealth or comfort. It came from community, from being together, from choosing happiness even in hardship. That taught me something I'll never forget. Resilience isn't just surviving. It's living fully, even when life isn't perfect. Slowly, I began to rebuild. I found work, I made friends, and I created routines that gave me stability. At first, I felt like a stranger, but with each passing day, the Philippines felt less like a temporary refuge and more like home. I started writing again, something I stopped during the war. I began to plan for a future, not just exist in the present. I discovered new passions, new connections, and new dreams. Most importantly, I felt safe. For the first time in a long time, I could sleep without fear of sirens or explosions. That safety was priceless. The Philippines gave me more than shelter. It gave me healing, laughter, and love. It showed me that home isn't always the place where you're born. It's the place where you feel alive again. Sometimes I still miss Ukraine. I miss the snow in winter, the taste of borscht, the sound of my native language in the streets. But I also know that the Philippines gave me something Ukraine couldn't at that moment: peace. I escaped war, but I found life. I lost a home, but I gained another, and I never expected that. When I left Ukraine, I thought I was only running away. But in truth, I was running towards something I didn't know I needed. The Philippines welcomed me, healed me, and gave me a second chance. I came here broken, but I found strength. I came here lost, but I found family. I came here in despair, but I found hope. I escaped war in Ukraine and moved to the Philippines. And in the end, I discovered that sometimes the darkest journeys lead you to the brightest places. I never expected this,